regular heat. This is Nuclear Heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bakoven.
Yes, glad to be with you here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket, our WWE Week in Review show. We always have fun doing this. Myself, Jake Bakoven, the host of Nuclear Heat, as well as Nuclear Heat contributor Augie Pena, jumping in here with me on a fun couple of shows to talk back on, which is a lot of Backlash in France. Thanks to the French crowd, our French friends over there in Lyon, France, who absolutely had a party watching some wrestling this week. Really made it fun and broke some records. So, I mean, it really was a good premium live event. And so one that was somewhat obvious. They kind of went paint by the numbers as far as picking who was going to win. And in the matchups, you know, I think we're good, but just really elevated by this crowd. So I think that, that's the most notable thing as we open up here on Nuclear Heat. Once again, I'm Jake Bakoven. He is Augie. Augie, you kind of feeling the same way I did. I mean, this last week has been fun with the brand split, which we eventually saw Monday night. They got into some of the King of the Ring stuff, which is always fun. I think that will be entertaining moving forward to their next premium live event, which will be in Saudi Arabia. The King and Queen of the Ring champions will be crowned there. And this, again, an international crowd in France. And the thing is, this is a streak of very good. I mean, they've been doing a lot of premium live events overseas, building the audience. And now this is a streak of Backlash, which is usually, I made fun of it in the past, called it backwash. Because it is basically WrestleMania. A lot of times rematches. They're just, the first matchups with new champions. They're not going to be transitional champs if they're going to get it at WrestleMania. So again, oftentimes predictable. But WWE Backlash last year in Puerto Rico with Bad Bunny was just incredible. One, because of the crowd, and then once again here in France, another very successful Backlash.
It was a great time to watch, in that. And I mean, they just appreciate, overseas, they just appreciate the fact that, they don't get events all the time. So, like when an event comes here in Lincoln, it's fun in that, but you can kind of tell, the crowd's like, oh yeah, they come 3-4 times a year, things like that. But man, it was rocking. Like I didn't know what they were saying half the time, because they're just
French
singing
chants,
along. They're chanting. The wrestlers seem to love it. It was a great time. And then you kind of watch Monday Night Raw, and you're like, wow, this crowd is kind of really dead compared to the one in France.
Yeah.
I'm afraid one of these years we're going to lose WrestleMania to,
sure.
to an overseas, it's going to happen. And I bet you that's going to be probably one of the best WrestleManias we've ever seen, just crowd wise. But man, it's just so great because you feel like when the crowd is in it like that, it just gives something to the wrestlers. They really get into it. And I thought Backlash, I wasn't super excited about the matches, but then you watch them and they were really good. I mean, they were long. There was only 5 matches for the 2 hours. It was good. A couple spots in there I was kind of like, but yeah, no, I thought Backlash was great. I really liked Monday Night Raw. SmackDown had its moments. It wasn't bad, but it was just one of those getting ready for Backlash there.
I thought, again, SmackDown, very, like I said, paint by the numbers SmackDown, but the crowd made it incredible. In fact, one of my favorite parts about it was the French crowd. Very much, they have a song that goes along with Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So every time they would say Phenomenal for AJ Styles, they would start chanting it. And it was awkward on SmackDown with the last promo for AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes, because Cody, the star of the company, was being overtaken by the audience chanting for Phenomenal AJ Styles just because they liked the song. So, I mean, I thought they did a good job of pivoting, realizing that, and kind of incorporating it into the show on Backlash. But that's the kind of entertainment that you don't often get in wrestling.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And, it's just a really fun time. I tuned in because it was at like noon, I think, on Saturday. So it's not a bad time, if you're just kind of chilling like I do on Saturdays and things like that. So it was kind of nice to see that. I do have Peacock now, so I do watch it on
you spent
Peacock.
I
spent the $6 a month to
Nice.
get it. I'm dedicated now, guys. Dedicated fan here. But no, it was a good time. Like I said, only 5 matches, but I thought they were really good. I thought the wrestlers, you can tell they loved performing out there. on there and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah. I think it's been a good week of wrestling. Let's jump into it. We will just talk about a few of the notes coming out of SmackDown as we kind of break this down chronologically and go through Backlash and then end up on Monday Night Raw. Once again, this is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks for joining us. We'll start again, SmackDown in Lyon, France. We mentioned the crowd. It was noted on the episode that they broke the record for the highest grossing SmackDown of all time, actually surpassing Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where the go home episode of SmackDown for this past WrestleMania was. So I know you're an Eagles fan, Augie. Sorry, Eagles fans
okay.
Just got outdone a little bit.
It's okay. We got a Super Bowl. So we're good. We got one.
You're doing all right. I'm not sure if the French care as much,
no.
But we'll see. Maybe someday, as we talk about globalization, we'll see an NFL team in France.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised before the end of my life. In any case, Carmelo Hayes, after his debut against Cody Rhodes the previous week, gets into a little run-in, mutual respect, turns into a little bit of trash talk with Bobby Lashley. I just think in general, that's a great way to bring in Carmelo and gives Bobby something to do and take him away from the Final Testament. Thank God at some point they needed to do it. So I think that's just a great, and then you kind of have the context of David versus Goliath. Carmelo Hayes, more of a showmanship in the air type of guy, where, Lashley's going to be the grounder and pounder and just physically overwhelming and all that. So I think that's got a great potential for a feud. We're talking about WWE booking just coming off of WrestleMania. You got to find these fresh matchups. And I think kind of hitting an A+ with that as far as piquing my interest for Carmelo Hayes' first feud as well.
I agree with that, but at the same time, it kind of makes me sad because Bobby Lashley's in that part of his career now where he's just going to be used to elevate talent, which is great, because I mean, he's done amazing things and they can put on good matches. I truly believe that. We're guilty of it. We don't watch NXT that much, but from watching Carmelo Hayes against Cody Rhodes, I mean, he's going to put on a show, and we know what Bobby Lashley can do. So yeah, I agree with you. I think this is great. Kind of keep him away from everything else he's been doing. Kind of maybe reinvent himself a little bit. They're teasing, a feud here, but Bobby wants him to, to kind of be a mentor towards him. They have a couple ways they can go with this. Depending on, it's one of those. If the feud doesn't really work out, but there's good chemistry, something like that, they could just pair them. We've seen it happen before.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, at some point, if Carmelo Hayes, they don't have to do it immediately, just down the line, go back on their feud and bad blood and then turns into friends and all that. Yeah, I think we could see that down the line. A couple other notes out of SmackDown. Paul Heyman admits he hasn't spoken to Roman Reigns since WrestleMania, so made a little bit of a mistake. The man so talented with words even makes mistakes at times. So that was kind of interesting. So as you know, as you may have been following along, Paul Heyman saying that basically spills the beans on him that Roman Reigns didn't tell him that he didn't want to be drafted to Raw or SmackDown. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I think they went a weird route here with Paul Heyman begging for management to save KO and RKO from the bloodline the next day at Backlash. If only for this is because I think Kevin Owens and Randy Orton and Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga put on a heck of a match, and we can get to that. But you're just kind of expecting if they're going to make that big of a deal out of it, then you're like, okay, these guys are going to be savage. I mean, this is going to be what do they have planned? And ultimately, what they have planned is just another guy, coming along and saving them. And for the first 30 minutes of that match, they just got their butts kicked. I mean, they just the night before you're going, oh, you don't even want to get in that match. To the first 30 minutes of watching the match, you're like, these guys are getting whooped. So it was just I don't know, not a big deal, small detail, but I thought they could have done something a little more on SmackDown with that.
No, but it's kind of like bloodline rules, for WrestleMania. Yeah, they hype that up. What they do with it, I mean, there's just a bunch of interference towards the end of the match, but you were thinking The Rock, the bloodline was going to be out there make it. Nah, it was Roman versus Cody for the first 40 minutes until people started to jump in. So they tend to do that. I think Paul Heyman is phenomenal. He's just great at what he does. Like he's one of those, you hate him, then you love him, and right now you kind of feel bad for him because he's in this position of he's kind of stuck. Solo won't let him do anything. And we'll talk about it at the Backlash. But the kind of the interaction they have with Jay, you're kind of like, oh, so I know a lot of people are feeling like the bloodline's kind of stale right now. They got something cooking there. I can, a bunch of rumors going on, a bunch of potential things that can happen. I'm excited for it.
Well, it's good. I mean, obviously The Rock and Roman aren't involved. And so it's going to take away your star power
Mhm.
from it. They still do a good job. And you know, I think too the we want Roman chants. I think you
Yeah.
stick with that. You know, try to, you know, if you're planning on bringing him back and those chants are over, maybe hold off a little bit longer because
Yeah.
the want for Roman will be real.
Yeah.
Because like I said this before, and this was a maybe not the best creative time in WWE's history here, but when they did lose Roman for a few months, and it wasn't that long for
Yeah.
considering that he's battling leukemia. It was noticeable.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, we'll have to see how long it goes, but you know, it's kind of like those CM Punk chants. That's what made they did that for 10 years after he left the company. That's what makes his return so special. The more we want Roman chants, the better, I think.
Yeah, and it makes you just appreciate how much more what Roman did the last 4 years. Like, even now, they're still mentioning him, but you can feel like he's gonna be gone for months. You know, you feel like you said, you feel it there. And I really hope they don't announce when he's coming back. It's just one of those, he just comes up, and kinda can have that huge pop at a premium live event. Oh, that'd be amazing,
Yeah.
just to hear those pops. And they're man, yeah, I miss the guy. I'll say I wasn't always behind, the tribal chief and all that, putting up the ones and stuff, but yeah, he was kind of a driving force. Even though he was kind of here and out, he was always still a big part of the storyline. And right now, you can kind of feel it on SmackDown sometimes. I know Cody's the main guy, but there's just something missing there, and it's that Roman
It's
Reigns.
Roman, yeah. So we'll see when they bring him back, how they bring him back. There's still so much that they can do with all of that, especially when they keep adding members to the bloodline. So we'll kind of see where they go with that. One other note, I think, from SmackDown would be that they did have A-Town Down Under go over the Street Profits to retain the tag team gold. Not too much to say about that match. And I guess if anybody was a transitional champ, I could have seen A-Town Down Under being that. So the only thing there still remains, the Street Profits, part of the pride with Bobby Lashley. It takes me a minute because they only kind of have to promote it. I don't know. They were kind of in their throwback gear in this match. So you kind of wonder where they're going with them. And you always know too that they've got a star in I think a singles punch or singles run when they do kind of break off with them. So they've, unfortunately, again, this pride thing for them has just not elevated them. In fact, it kind of took away some momentum of what you could do to finally break them up. So we'll see.
Yeah, what would have saved them if they would have been on Raw and they would have went against Imperium. You don't have to win against that, but I mean, put on some good matches, with the three-headed monster that is Imperium. Well, back then, because I guess they're not Imperium. They kicked Da Vinci out.
Yeah.
But back then when they were hot, even though they lose that, because they put them up against Karrion Kross and those guys, and I don't even remember who their first match. But is that who they've been feuding with the whole time since they've been together? I think that's it.
I mean, their main feud, that's pretty much their big what they've been doing.
Which I just want to point out while we're there, real quick. The Final Testament are the only ones that did not get a pop at Backlash. That I thought was like, that's the nail on the coffin. Just end it, there. But yeah, I mean, Montez Ford, I think, is the one that, he can be a single star, and you kind of feel bad for D'Angelo Hawkins because they've kind of, they've been together for like 6 years or whatever it is now, but they're just kind of stale. They're just kind of stale with their red solo cups, kind of doing their things. And like you said, it didn't work when you got a guy like Bobby Lashley to kind of give you the rub. On it. I think it's just time to let Montez kind of do his own thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And maybe a turn there would be coming. Maybe you kind of warm them back up as a tag team. We'll see. Either way, they didn't win. So we'll see. They don't have much creative going with them as of late. Let's get into the Backlash matches then. Backlash again from France. Probably, again, the best international crowd since Puerto Rico. Last year's Backlash, remember Bad Bunny especially made that a special. And you think back to that, and he was fighting Damian Priest. And so a year later, Damian Priest having his own match at Backlash for a championship this time has been quite a story. Once again, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton start out against Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. Before they can get the match going, these guys are all brawling, so management has to come out and say, you know what, let's go ahead and turn this into a street fight. Again, the crowd is, singing Randy Orton's song coming out. People are just, so this was a hot way to start it. The We Want Roman chants did break out. And they throughout this match, kendo sticks, garbage cans, tables, it's just the steel steps. They used everything that they could. Yep. Commentary desk. So this is a very good way to start it. I will say some shows, it's kind of a danger to do that in some ways, because I've been to a wrestling show that did that, and it just kind of took away from the rest of the night. Like, it wasn't as like, oh, now they're getting to the part where they have it's so serious that they're bringing in this weapon or that weapon when you use all your weapons at the beginning. I don't think this show hurt from that, but it is somewhat of a danger to kind of throw everything at the crowd in the opening match. But it is a heck of a way to start. Tama Loa was making his debut, of course, throughout this. I think one of the problems with it's just his size. I know he's a Bullet Club member. There's, so he's got a lot of respect. It was just his size bringing him this way. He looked the smallest of the four guys in the ring. He's the new guy you're trying to get over. I don't think they necessarily had spots for him that was like, okay, that's why this guy is a big deal. I still think they're missing out a little bit on that. And of course, the shine is on Solo leading that. Maybe they'll do it a little bit more here, of course, because they do end up having Tonga Loa actually make the breakup here. He is the brother of I'm still getting used to them. So Tonga Loa is the brother of Tama Tonga. So now it looks like that part of the bloodline is growing, and you're going to have more names to keep up with. So because Jacob Fatu was the guy that a lot of people expected to make his debut there. He did not, so he might be along the way as well. Could be all the way setting up a Roman bloodline versus a Rock bloodline, which maybe at WrestleMania or leading up to WrestleMania. That's kind of the way a lot of people are fantasy booking this thing heading, and that would be fun.
Oh man, that'd be amazing. When Roman Reigns comes back, he's going to be a babyface, and it is going to be one of the loudest pops you'll hear from that. And I just want to point out too, real quick, that Tonga Loa. That's his name, right? The new guy. Not starting off great. I don't know if you saw the behind the back, like somebody caught an angle when he breaks up the pin.
Oh, yeah.
Is 1, 2. He was late. The ref actually by himself starts to do this. Yeah, because Tonga was a little late there. Wasn't gonna make the save on time. So,
and he's wrestled in WWE before under a different name and didn't really get over enough to have a long WWE career anyway with it. And I had read on internet wrestling community kind of has said that he's not as technical of a as some of the other wrestlers out there. So we'll see. Kind of a danger there.
Yeah.
And I still, I think you got to rein the Usos in one way or the other. And again, maybe that's going to be Roman's side. But get some familiarity back into the group, or impress, because as Solo goes, again, he just had such a long losing streak before this supposed push where he's taken over, this bloodline. If they're going to set it up that way, he needs to be believable. I mean, they all just need to be put over.
Yeah.
And they did get the win here. And so maybe that's the start of that.
Yeah. And I also got to point out what was going on with Solo Sikoa's hair. Did you see that? He had it puffed out, his hair.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little weird there. Sorry. I just got to point that out. And then another thing, yeah, you were right. I mean, it was kind of a Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, kind of just dominating there for a little bit. You really, you knew an interference was coming. That was kind of there. I did like the spot that Tama Tonga, man, I'm going to get confused with names too. Tama took when Kevin Owens, they went off the ropes into the steel chairs. I thought that was a great spot.
Yeah. Brainbuster, I think.
Brainbuster. There you go. That's what it was. But no, I agree with you. They have a lot of work to do because none of them are established stars. None of them have really earned their, stuff like that. They have a lot of work to do with this. But having a guy like Paul Heyman, I think, on their side still for as long as they do, I think that's going to help them out a lot on the run.
Well, and again, too, it's sometimes in wrestling, it's important just the details.
Yeah.
You can draft, who was it? Carmelo Hayes with the first round pick all you want. He doesn't really feel like the first round guy because he's not. I mean, he wouldn't be that. So you're trying to kind of give him a bump there, but even in that draft too, where they just waited forever to take Solo Sikoa in the bloodline, you process that, you understand. Okay, so are these guys, if they're supposed to be, the new bloodline, the new bullies of WWE, the group that's been taking over WWE the last couple of years, Why are they getting drafted late? So it's just sometimes the details matter. And then we have the women's championship: Bayley against Naomi, against Tiffany Stratton. Again, a lot of these. This was Bayley's first defense of her championship, so a lot of these matches were somewhat predictable. It was going to be surprising if Bayley won. I was kind of having my own inner battle of like, well, but who should be second most likely in the betting odds if they did, between Naomi and Tiffany Stratton, knowing it wasn't going to go that way. They ultimately did have Becky getting the win and pinning Naomi on not necessarily a finishing move or anything, just kind of finding a pinning combination to get it done. I thought Tiffany Stratton again shined in a way that it's kind of interesting because she's got a few moves that are just incredible to watch and fun to watch. That I'm interested to see as she develops, because you could almost see her getting into like Randy Orton at this age, and you could see him not wanting to jump off the barricade. He's pretty limited. He's kind of a John Cena 5 move type of guys. Goldberg. They're guys that kind of get pigeonholed into that. And Tiffany Stratton doesn't have to be that, but she does these moves that several of them that you like want to see in every Tiffany. It's going to get a reaction in the live crowd every time that, she might be careful. She might turn into a 5-move girl.
Yeah, but I mean the prettiest moonsault, that is a move right there. And I agree with you. She was by far the standout. I mean, Bayley and Naomi did fine for what it was doing, but we talked about a little bit backstage. I didn't like the whole buddy, pretty much just it's just not Tiffany's gonna win, because Bayley rolls up Naomi there. They hug, they're laughing, all that stuff. They're raising. I'm just like, that's not fun. I don't like that.
At least give it 30 seconds, 40 seconds of Naomi pouting and then kind of saying, okay, I guess it is my friend. It was just kind of like, it was too soon. It was like 10 seconds after Naomi was like, hey, my friend Bayley won. It's like, yeah, but you didn't win. You have to be a competitor.
And I did kind of like what they did though, because it really kept Tiffany strong. It didn't hurt her run that she can have here, her momentum. But I think they need to, I know she's young, she just started, but the women's division is kind of needing other stars, and I think she's the one on SmackDown. Like you got Bayley, and then really, it's her. I know you got Bianca and Jade, but they're kind of doing their own tag team thing now on there. But yeah, you just gotta run with it with Tiffany. I mean, she's got everything you'd want in a women's wrestler. She can talk. She's got the move sets. She's been on 2 premium live events now, and she's done really well. I think she's been like one of the crowd favorites in both of them. So yeah, you just got to run with it at this point.
Tiffy time is coming. That is for sure. That is, and then that's kind of the question is, where do you go from here? Usually in a battle of 3, you might, kind of trim it down to 2 and have one of them go. Do you want Naomi to turn on Bayley? Do you want, the Tiffany Stratton feud to continue with Bayley? I think that looks interesting. So we'll see what they do with them. But again, it's going to be hard to keep Tiffany down for long. We'll say that. Then we have the matchup, Damian Priest and Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey Uso's interest, very notably incredible. I mean, because the whole French audience, again, got their cell phones on, and it just, it's just an awesome visual with his entrance. And, they did it again the next night on Raw, and it was just, again, there's just a difference from the intensity and the excitement from the overseas crowd to Hartford, Connecticut, or wherever they are, right? And so it just made this. It helped make this match feel a little better, I thought.
Yeah, no, for sure. And he is one of the most over stars, I would say, right now. But we talked about I mean, he just doesn't feel like he's one of the main guys, though. He has the entrance, the crowd responds to him, but he just doesn't feel like somebody you can take serious with like a belt or something in there. And that's kind of the problem I have with Jey Uso. He should have been retired, back in 2018 when it was popular. So the fact that he's made it a thing again. But man, watching that French crowd, I mean, nobody was, everybody was doing this. They were all doing it. We talked about Pat McAfee saying some stuff we can't repeat, on air.
Right. I don't know what yeet means, but Pat McAfee seems to have some.
I mean, he's saying something else on there, but yeah, it's interesting. And I thought the match was pretty good as well. I, like you said, I really didn't think Jey Uso had a chance at taking this away from Damian Priest at all. But I'm glad that as you said, the crowd made it feel a little bit more than what it was.
Well, and one note here too is that JD McDonough and Finn Balor helped Priest, and then after the match, they jumped on Jey Uso and they were going to mug him, and Damian Priest stopped him, and so it was just kind of this weird moment of, are they turning Priest face? Is he going to turn? Are we going to break up the Judgment Day? And I think that what they've been doing, and I don't know this for sure, but it just feels like they've inserted Finn Balor into Dom Mysterio's spot of kind of, because there's these tiers in Judgment Day, and Dominic and JD are at the bottom, and they're kind of the henchmen, and Finn and Damian Priest are to be taken seriously. And so, I kind of feel bad for Finn, because I don't think that it's a spot that works as well. Like when Priest grabs Finn by the chin, I know they're just tag team partners, but this is a former champion. This is a guy that has a demon, inside him. The Prince. I mean, his entrance has been special for years. I believe Grand Slam champion. I mean, he should not be treated or respect. Kind of fit. Taken that way, and it just feels like that's Dom's spot, who can't wrestle right now because he's just not medically cleared. So that's one note that I didn't really like. They cleaned it up pretty quickly on Raw last night. But I just feel like Finn's taking those spots, and they need to change it with the personnel they have.
Yeah, and Finn has, like you said, he's got the ability to be the main guy. The only reason he lost the Universal Championship was because he tore something in his shoulder. He wasn't medically cleared, and pretty much I think everybody's just kind of been waiting for him to get back to that main event scene, being the guy. And WWE he had a good run in NXT for 2 years. I think he's like NXT champ, kind of reinvented himself again. But I think he's a guy, if anything, the Judgment Day has maybe hurt a little bit more, because like you said, he had the demon persona. He doesn't bring it out. His entrance, talk about getting people involved. Can you imagine if he would have done that in France? Everybody would have went crazy. And now he's kind of just, he uses the Judgment Day's entrance, kind of just goes there. He's one of the biggest disappointments I think I have from Monday. We'll get into that, but you got it right. When was the last time Finn Balor won a match? He lost to Edge, when he was the demon, it's kind of just spiraled. And like you said, he's just kind of been, now he's just a henchman. But JD McDonough and Dom haven't done anything. Finn has. Finn, like you said, probably a Grand Slam champion if you look at it. And he has the moveset, a lot of experience in here, and they're just kind of treating him like trash.
Well, and I think they can, they can turn it on anytime they want to, and that will be fun when the Judgment Day does break up. But again, you got to attack it from a point of view where Finn's not, just a lackey. I mean, he has to be the Prince. He's got to be the demon if you need to draw that out. I mean, can you imagine at some point during Damian Priest's run, or maybe it ends with a matchup with Demon Finn Balor? I mean, that's how you book these things. That would be great, but you can't kick him, completely down to a JD McDonough level, otherwise it's not going to have that feeling to it. So we'll see. I mean, it's a small problem throughout a great show. This was a bit of a problem. Kabuki Warriors against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill for the women's tag team titles. Very much one thing that was obvious from the beginning is that the Kabuki Warriors are supposed to be the champions, and they look like the underdogs just because of the difference in size with Belair and Cargill, and specifically Kairi Sane. Asuka, similar to what we were just saying about the Demon Prince, is that she's the Empress of Tomorrow. She has been put over, I think, a 4-time women's champ. And so while her size hurts her, you just kind of know, okay, well, that's a player. Kairi Sane just isn't big enough. And again, I don't want to be sizist or anything, but it's wrestling. It matters here. That's why the tag team division suits her well. Is she can tag team with Asuka, but when you put these singles event superstars, the number one pick Belair and Jade Cargill, who they are making seem as untouchable now, it just kind of outshines the tag team. So I'm interested to see really what they're going to do with it. The other problem that they kind of had here was a mix up with the ref. Kairi Sane, and just not knowing who was legal, who was tagged. Kairi Sane tried to make a pin, and then the ref told her that she wasn't legal. And then, eventually they wrestled back over into the corner. And then, even though she's not legal, then
she tags Asuka.
Then Asuka tags in, and they never make up for that. So I don't know. Maybe you do something creatively with it. But it wasn't. it doesn't look like it was creatively put in there. It was kind of a fault in the match. And I don't know, maybe the live crowd didn't know one way or the other.
Yeah.
But especially in the commentary was just kind of trying to play along with it too. It was just very awkward.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, Kyrie, she this match went on for a very long time, on there, but man, just everything she did, the hits, they just, it looks like they should have just brushed off of, Jade or Bianca on there. And I talked about it. I mean, Jade has the look and everything, but she's very, very green in the ring still with what she does. But man, when she does her finisher or that like finisher power move she did where she like flung Carrie, this, that, and then power slammed her, all that stuff. I thought that was really, really cool. But I just thought this match maybe went on a little bit longer than it should have with the players that it was, because it's all breaking your guys' minds here. It's scripted. We know that, you got to make it entertaining, but there does come a point like with this, Kairi Sane and Asuka are not going to beat these two. If it's not a street fight or something like that, an interference, they're not going to beat them.
Equalizer was needed.
Yeah. So, and this was, for all intent, it wasn't, a 2-on-2, fair fight there, on it. But obviously the right thing to do, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, they're the big draws, on that, give them the championship, let them kind of carry it, see if they can revive the women's tag team division. Cause we've talked about it where it's very weak right now. There's really, no tag team titles out there. So, or tag team teams out there. So they kind of have to put these two single stars together, and hey, we've seen it work in the past. So I'm hoping, they can create some magic with it.
Well, I am interested in maybe it could lead to what we all wanted to begin with, was Belair versus Jade Cargill. As you mentioned, maybe they're doing the right thing because Cargill is green and kind of bringing it along before they do that. But that would be an excellent way to break this up. But I do think too, when you have when it's just obvious that they're, that you have single stars as tag team champions, just a weird. I want to see if they're going to be able to do really anything with it, because it's always just kind of awkward when the team that's favored to win, basically no matter who you put up against them, keeps winning. Then you're like, well, that's kind of what we expected to happen. And so they don't usually run them long. If you remember when Asuka and Charlotte won the title, they just randomly kind of put them together, and it was like, well, that's just not really fair, And so I don't think they had that for long.
No, they didn't. And kind of thinking about it, it's funny because I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here, but I always root for Rey Mysterio, I'm taller than he is, we're bigger than he is, but yet he's a world heavyweight champ. He's done things like that. But I think a lot of it too has to go in just the ability of the performer. I'm not saying that Kairi Sane isn't a great performer, because she can do some good moves too. But Rey, he's flying, he's 619ing, he's kind of going low blows, things like that. And what they had Kairi kind of doing was just kind of straight up going at them. And I just don't think that's the way to play it, because that's like me going up against Mike Tyson. There's no chance. There's no chance, and I'm gonna have to find a way to cheat. Or low blow something to even stand a chance there. And I just, it's little things I pick at. I'm picking at it too much. I shouldn't. In there, it's wrestling. We enjoy it. We do that, but we are here to kind of talk about it, and that's just kind of one of the things that just kind of, I was like,
Well, I will say this: at least they haven't been having Asuka miss everybody every week like they were doing for a while there.
Yeah.
When we talk about needing an equalizer, maybe this would be because they hadn't done it in a while. Maybe you could do that. Obviously, Dakota Kai at ringside maybe could have factored in more. Something like that. But yeah, I mean, even again, we're kind of picking on Kairi Sane, and I love Kairi Sane, and her return to WWE I was very happy to see her return to WWE. But there's just, again, and her size helps, and sometimes to the point of Jade Cargill being able to toss her every which way before slamming her down for the win. It's just her, or even her finishing move of the elbow off the top rope. It looks like it would kind of hurt, but you know what I mean? It's just, it's not thud. She's just not very big. So, in this match, the size kind of mattered there. In any case, then we had the WWE Universal Championship with Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. Of course, again, this is Backlash from France this past Saturday. And this in general is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. Myself, Jake Bakoven, running through the previous week of WWE wrestling. Nuclear Heat contributor Augie Pena joining me. We do this every Tuesday. So if you're a wrestling fan, spread word around. That happens great, and that's the best way to get this thing going. And we don't always have a good time, but or a designated time, I should say. But we do try to get it in on Tuesday nights, so you can look for it on our podcast page, ticketfm.com or YouTube every week. So we'd like to continue doing this and continue growing it and getting wrestling fans in Lincoln, in the surrounding area or anywhere involved and have some fun with it.
Yeah, it's a fun time. If you don't know wrestling, we'll try our best to kind of get you into it. Because I'd say we kind of know a good amount. We follow it. We try to entertain you guys here, and we'd appreciate if you guys spread the word and just listen, just relax and let us talk an hour of wrestling with you guys.
Don chimes in off the Selecto, or excuse me, Starter Heyman text line. What are you guys' thoughts on AEW Collision coming to Council Bluffs on June 8th? Well, I will say this. June 8th is my birthday, so I might just have to attend that. That would be a lot of fun. Last year, I was lucky Matchbox 20 came to Omaha.
Oh, there you go.
For my birthday. So I think there's just something in the air for my birthday these days.
Yeah. We'll have to work that out. Maybe we can just go see our first. I've never watched a full AEW show. So, hey, what's the best way then to go to a live event, and see it in person and, kind of just see the product that they put out there.
Yeah. I mean, and being completely honest, I mean, I'm going to look into that because that's very cool. We mentioned here, we kind of, we have jobs, and wrestling, it just takes a lot out of you if you have to have jobs. I mean, because NXT and WWE and AEW, it can turn into, especially with a premium live event, 6 days a week.
Yep.
And so we don't cover AEW as much, but we certainly could make an exception for that show and kind of give us our review on that. And we mentioned it before too. Some of my favorite wrestlers are in AEW. I'm a big fan of Jon Moxley, and Cesaro is what his WWE name, and Sasha Banks. And so I'll be intrigued and hopefully try to get some tickets there. I've heard the AEW crowds, you might be able to have there might be some extra seats. They might be able to get in.
Well, there you go. I'll take some extra seats, at a better price than some of these. Well, I can't complain. I go to the WWE ones, I go to all those ones here, and all that stuff. So, but I'd be interested in that. Thanks for letting us know that came. Because honestly, I've not seen a single thing about it coming to Council Bluffs. So, AEW maybe needs to do a little bit better job of promoting that.
Well, maybe they figured it's Iowa. They don't really know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You gotta learn the Lincoln and then Omaha Council Bluffs layout a little bit. Yeah, they're learning. They're a new company. Don says his birthday's on June 6th, so happy birthday to him too. And that gets that'd be a good one for you to go to. Let's get back into it again. Backlash from Lyon, France, and an incredible crowd helping with this one as well. Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. I thought was really cool was Michael Cole in commentary acknowledging the Bullet Club history between the two. It's kind of been an interesting journey of how much they will acknowledge Bullet Club and say Bullet Club. They do the Too Sweet quite a bit. But the whole what is it? The OG or OCs? OC, they were basically the Bullet Club, but WWE couldn't use that name. And now starting to integrate that, and they do. I mean, they talk. If you don't know, that's kind of a stable that started over in New Japan Wrestling and has since made its way to a lot of different promotions, and it's a very big group of former people. But these were two of the main leaders of Bullet Club at a certain time. As we, by the way, also have talked about Finn Balor. That is the actual leader of the original Bullet Club. So another kind of feather in his cap as we bring that up.
I mean, I'm just going to say this real quick. WWE has a chance. Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes, before it's over. Just former. I mean, you can't use that name, but I mean, you can be creative.
They're starting to use the name, so I don't know.
People are saying Cody Rhodes' reign might be a little stale or something. I don't know.
That would spice it up pretty quickly.
You can do something. I mean, they, like you said, they have that ability. It's so many. They could just have the biggest faction. It'd be a lot of fun there.
Good wrestling match ends with the American Nightmare getting the win in his first title defense. He hits the Crossroads a few times for the win. I've mentioned before, I like the Cody Rhodes thing. I don't love it. And part of that is the Crossroads, and I'll bring that up over and over again. It's just not a finishing move to me. It just doesn't look too destructive. And so when you have these incredible obstacles of overcoming, the Roman Reigns battle, and it just always ends in a crossroads. I'm always just kind of like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. So that'd be my only complaint there, I guess.
No, and I'm with you. I like the Cody Cutter and kind of things like
Cody
that
Cutter
a
could
little
be
bit.
better,
I
I
mean,
think,
yeah,
yeah.
he can be creative with it, but I thought this match was really good. It told a great story in there. It almost felt like they haven't confirmed anything, but it almost looked like AJ Styles' tooth may have been chipped or something because he kept going, that or he bit his tongue. But I thought it was a good match. Cody's not going to drop the title anytime soon, but man, that crowd was cheering for both of them. Was AJ, Cody was kind of going crazy for them. And I thought, it was a good solid match. I'd be honest, if this is a feud that Cody kind of has for, maybe another match, maybe another premium live event, I wouldn't be disappointed because they did a phenomenal job out there.
Yeah, we'll see where they go with it. It's again, AJ Styles wasn't exactly hot coming into this thing, so it is kind of interesting to see, especially where they go with that. And then the next chapter of Cody Rhodes as I think we can all settle in for a nice long Cody Rhodes championship run. So there are going to be challenges like they've had with Roman of getting feuds that are believable, or at least that can have near falls that makes the crowd ooh and ah. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Let's get into WWE Raw again. Liking it because I like any Raw or SmackDown, I suppose, and generally it's Raw because of the timing they do it. After a premium live event, you get fresh matchups, kind of new ideas of where they're going with it, and specifically they've got the King of the Ring first round going into WWE Raw and SmackDown. So that's kind of what to look forward to with these weekly shows, as we only have 3 weeks now to wait for the King of the Ring finals in Saudi Arabia. Again, another international show. They always do a great job of putting on it in the crowd, making that look like a WrestleMania. So kind of fun to look forward there. As they started this thing off, Judgment Day kind of squared away that beef that they kind of had as far as Damian Priest pushing off the other guys of Jey Uso. So maybe that was much ado about nothing, or maybe they decided in one day, let's turn and keep Judgment Day together for longer. Or, who knows? Vince McMahon's very much known for 30 minutes before air going in and changing the storyline. I don't know if they'll do that with Triple H, the Triple H era, or the Paul Levesque era, as they'd rather have it be said. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Drew McIntyre, by the way, before the Raw was even out there, and they do a good job on social media, kind of getting you excited going into it, was announced not medically cleared to fight. So Finn Balor thought he was just going to get first round bye. Turns out that's not the case. Jey Uso was going to be the man stepping in. And so Jey Uso, you don't know how much of this is planned. Maybe this was planned all along to have him in, but he benefits. He comes in and gets a win over Finn Balor. And again, to me, I've said this before with Jey too. Incredibly over. People loving it. I don't think it's the wrong move necessarily here. But his spear is just not.
Dude, it's horrible.
It's just not as impactful, and they used it as a finisher this time. That would be my one complaint from the match, but otherwise it was a really good match. Again, outside of Pat McAfee awkwardly yelling about Yeet and what it is, and I don't know what it is. So
yeah, and I agree with you. I thought it was a really good match. I hate seeing Finn take that pin. He's supposed to be part of the, one of the hottest, like we talked about it, hottest factions. And when was the last time the guy won? You can probably go back to when they won back their tag team titles after they lost it for like the 4th time. He really hasn't done much. And, I thought this King of the Ring, I think, is going to be a good chance for them to bring, and what they're showing Triple H is doing is kind of bringing out new talent, new hype kind of guys that have been in the background for a little bit. They had a perfect opportunity with Finn Balor to get a hot win over Jey Uso, who, even though Jey hasn't won a match since, he won WrestleMania, but, other than that, and then I guess some of the other qualifiers, he's kind of been on a little bit of a losing streak too. And look at him. He's still popping, he's still got all this momentum. You could have gotten a big win, something to get Finn Balor over with.
Yeah, I think Judgment Day maybe would have benefited off of that, but again, Jey Uso's benefiting off the win. So it's one of those things. You have to do it in wrestling. That's what makes the stakes fun, is that both of them kind of need a win, and only one of them can get it at times. So they went with Jey Uso here. Then we had the CM Punk promo. This was moments after Drew McIntyre drove off because he was mad because CM Punk was caught in WWE headquarters over the weekend. And so they kind of used that to a little bit of fun to have him arrive late in Hartford, Connecticut. And then CM Punk went out there. I think, he's one of the best promos in wrestling, and I think they almost relied on it a little too much in that this one kind of didn't necessarily go anywhere. But again, it's Punk and McIntyre who are not medically cleared. The fun is we don't know when they will be. I don't know if they'll announce it or surprise you where you do the old, oh, he's not medically cleared and now he's fighting. And then you realize, well, okay, then he's probably medically cleared now. But I like when they do that rather than, what Seth Rollins did right before WrestleMania, which is, I'll get the crowd over with it and say, I'm going to be medically cleared next week. And it's like, okay, that's great for the moment. But I like the idea of like, oh, no, he's not medically cleared. And then they start going after it. So that will be fun when they eventually get into that. I hope that's the way they do it. But did you particularly enjoy this? Again, difficult to do with two guys that can't fight. But I think they're keeping it interesting with the battle of words.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit more entertaining than some of the other program segments they have. I mean, I liked Raw this week because it was all wrestling, the king in the ring. So I thought we got kind of spoiled there. But yeah, if they were gonna, have two guys kind of talking, filling up some space, some time, I mean, you can't go wrong with Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. They do such a good job. Like I don't want them to let us know when they're medically cleared. Just, hey, one attacks the other. Hey, let's go for it. Just a fun thing like that. But yeah, I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Then we had the Queen of the Ring kickoff. It was Natalya and Io Sky. Io Sky gets the win. Again, a former women's champ. I think that kind of can get her momentum going. And Natalya, forever putting people over, does it once again. But in any case, after the match, Kai mentioned, Dakota Kai did, that Becky Lynch and that they were going to have to go after her. I think this was kind of a good introductory of Damage Control to Raw. And so, it wouldn't take long for them to do it if you followed throughout the rest of the night. That they will be going after him. So also mentioning, by the way, that the Empress of Tomorrow is out. So she would be replaced in the tournament by Lyria Valkyria, who is debuting. Any thoughts about that match?
Oh, you mean, she's going to be replaced by Dakota Kai against Lyria.
Yeah, Dakota Kai.
I didn't see anything when Asuka, got hurt there. And I think it's kind of interesting that Damage Control is going to go after, Becky Lynch, essentially the women's champ. Especially, because we'll find out a little bit here later, just that, they don't really have momentum. They're on a losing streak on there, except for Io. I guess Io, she wins her match up there and things like that. I thought it was fine. Dakota Kai is actually very impressive on the mic. I didn't realize that. I haven't paid much attention. Big NXT person kind of came on with Bayley. They kind of had her in the background.
Yeah.
I thought she was a little awkward, the build up WrestleMania, but man, she can talk. And they're really using her as a voice for Damage Control to kind of keep them relevant. So I'm pretty impressed with that. And, we'll see, because, Becky, Dakota Kai kind of promos and we'll see if Becky Lynch gets any friends or anything like that.
All right. We only have a few minutes, so we're going to try something here, which is you get a 1-sentence response after once I say this. So this is just your thoughts on these matches for a few quick. We'll give you a little bit more on that. It's like a King of the Ring tournament, Ricochet and Ilya Dragunov, who made his debut. Dragunov defeats Ricochet. What were your thoughts on that one?
It was weird.
Good match, though. I thought they put on a good match. And Dragunov, Don chiming in again on the text line, wants to see Dragunov and Gunther on the Raw side of the bracket matchup. Maybe will that be the semis? We'll see. That would be an exciting match. Then we had the Queen of the Ring tournament. Once again, 1 sentence here. Ivy Nile, Zoe Stark. Stark gets the win.
Predictable.
Yeah, I thought that was rather predictable. Brig Bronson Reed and Chad Gable ends in a no contest. Even though Sami Zayn had to hit one of them first. So I think it's funny when they do no contest, where in other words, other time you would just give the pin to whoever he hit first. You'd give the win to the other one. But Sami Zayn got involved. The brawl between Zayn and Gable ended with Reed on top once again. And so this is leading, as Sami Zayn would say later, to a matchup in on their next Premium Live event between the three. Again, I think this is a good feud, a good way to move forward.
Give Chad Gable the title.
Yeah, you want to see it already? Take it off.
You know that. Yep, that's all I want. 1 sentence. There you go. That's all I want.
Yeah. Of course, I'm still hoping for Big Bronson Reed to get the win just because he won the Andre, and nobody cares or remembers that. But I love the Andre. Backstage, Carlito pitched to Damian Reese. This was a little early in the match, so I got this one a little out of order, I think. that he could help the Judgment Day. Any interest in Carlito and maybe becoming a member of the Judgment Day?
I'd be interested for sure. Yeah, I want to see what he can do there. He can do great things. So he's great on the ring and on the mat. So
I love how Dom's character is just to randomly bring in
everybody,
and the other guys are just like, "Hey, we hate this guy," but they still let Dom do it.
Yeah, I do got to say something real quick though. Pay attention. Dom has that purple handkerchief. You know who else had a purple handkerchief later on that night?
Who's that?
Liv Morgan.
And
they've been caught backstage. Kind of in some background things.
Yeah, I like you got onto that.
We'll see.
Becky Lynch's promo actually was saved because it was very boring. By Liv Morgan, who came out. It was just a slow promo. There's not much. Becky Lynch was just giving flowers to but a few people on the roster. Liv gets upset that they didn't, that she didn't do it there. Damage Control surrounds the ring to attack Becky Lynch and Liv. Liv ducks out of the way, which I thought was kind of cool. And then Valkyria made the save, which didn't make sense because it was 2-on-3, but Damage Control, sometimes you just got to let it play out.
Yeah. I mean, that it is what it is. They're going to try to build it up to be, something good, and they have the chance to. So,
yeah. Then we have the Queen of the Ring tournament, Valkyria again with her debut against Dakota Kai. Valkyria gets the win. And we can take a minute here because we do have a minute. Dakota Kai, I think you're right, has been impressive. She's got a bit of a different look. She's just kind of thin and tall. And so it's a bit of a different look than a lot of the wrestlers, which I think helps out. But she has been taking a lot of pins. I thought, again, with Damage Control being the new push around, you got bullies, so to speak, on Raw, they could have used a win here, but it's Paul Levesque, and he loves him some NXT debuts, and so these guys are going to get some pushes. Yeah, and they're essentially doing what they did to Damage Control when they first came out. They were pushed as this big heel faction, and they took all the pins, and that's kind of what they're doing again. So maybe they're trying to strike magic twice, on there. But wrong decision. I thought Dakota Kai should have won this one. I mean, they're going after Becky Lynch. Yeah. You can't have that and then have your leader lose to somebody who's making their debut, especially without Asuka. It would have just helped kind of put her over a little bit, kind of get you back in the mind of, okay, she doesn't have to win the tournament, just don't be a one and done like that. That hurts the group. Well, and it's the same thing in March Madness. It's good when the upsets happen early. You get excited on that Thursday and Friday, but you're not as excited on Saturday, Sunday to see those the big matchups. And so Dakota Kai being out, like good for Valkyria, right? Her debut match at least puts her over, but I'm not as excited about seeing her fight throughout the rest of it than I would with Dakota Kai. So we'll see what happens there. And then, of course, Sheamus is known for putting on banger after banger after banger, and he decided to put on another banger for us. Pretty predictable outcome. I think this is Gunther's match or King of the Ring tournament to lose, so to speak. Gunther against Sheamus was the final round one matchup for King of the Ring, and again, a lot of blood on the chest of both of them, but Gunther does get the win. This was a good first match. You hate to see it because Sheamus is great. Sheamus can do good things, but man, Gunther is showing his strength, and I thought it was a really good match. Good way for Raw to go off. A little bit odd that Kofi against Ray is going to go on, and it gives a little something to a house show, I suppose, coming up, but you have enough time. I think they could have put that out, especially with Kofi. They did a good job with his story. He's going to beat Ray because he wants to make up for his tag team partner being left out, the last King of the Ring tournament winner. But kind of weird just to do that off TV, but that's what they decided to do. Plenty more to get excited about for as we lead into the championship of King and Queen of the Ring here in a few weeks in Saudi Arabia. But that will wrap it up for Nuclear Heat. Once again, tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best way to get this going. So Nuclear Heat, every Tuesday night we do it. We love it. And we'll be back next Tuesday night. Thanks for joining us.
This is Coach Bill Bush. You all know my passion for Nebraska. Having coached all over the country